Believing in Miracles. I wrote it for a Christmas story to read to nursing homes, and we're also doing a promotion on Relay for Life and raising money to help cancer here. And I hope you like it, and I'm just going to read it to you. It's called Believing in Miracles. It was a blustery cold Christmas Eve in a small suburb of Terrace Valley where only a few hundred people resided. It was on a long stretch of highway where our story unravels. This tale was told by my great-grandfather. He knew the tale so well. It was turning dark in the small town, and I was driving down the road trying to get home to my family for the holidays. All of a sudden, I saw a bright light which illuminated the entire highway, and I saw someone sitting on a bench. I drove on by, but then for some reason decided to go back. I drove back and saw that it was a young lady sitting on the bench. I didn't want to scare her, so I walked up as quietly as I could and asked her if she was okay. She said that her car had broken down and that the garage could not fix it till after the holidays. I told her not to worry and that I would try to help. She reached over then and touched my hand. I asked if she had a family that could be contacted, and she replied not anymore, that she had not seen them for a long, long time. I thought this young lady reminded me of a little lost lamb. I told her that I had a great idea, that she could spend Christmas with me and my family, and that we would love to have her company. She arose from the bench and gave me a big hug and thanked me. We both got into the car and proceeded to drive toward my home. I couldn't help but glance her way as she removed her hat, and I thought to myself that her hair color and style was the same as my beloved daughter. I asked her if she would like to listen to the radio. Yes, she replied. She said that she loved music and started humming along with the radio music. I told her that she had a pretty voice and that my daughter used to love singing too. This brought back a lot of good memories of my daughter. I kind of slipped back to the time when I first saw her and was overwhelmed by the thoughts. I remember when she would reach out and squeeze my finger. It was love at first sight. Then I thought about when she lost her first tooth and how she couldn't wait for the tooth fairy to come. Then about our family's first Christmas together. Then one day as a young lady she told us that she wanted to go overseas and entertain the troops. Her mother and I didn't agree with that, but realized that she had a life of her own to live and that we had to love and support her, whatever her decision might be. When she left, it made us both sad, but her letters all told us that she loved what she was doing, felt safe, and that she would be home soon. Little did we know that it would be sooner than expected, and not the way that we had planned. We were just sitting down to supper, ready to say grace and thanking God for our food, when a knock came at the door. I got up to answer the knock. When I opened the door, a stranger was standing there with a sad look on his face. He said, "My name is Sergeant Randy Ball, and I have sad news for you, my son." I asked him to come in, and he said that I'm an enemy sniper who sprayed the theater area with gunfire, and there was many killed and wounded before the sniper himself was finally killed. Sad to say, your daughter was one of the ones that was killed. As I stood there trembling, the news came on about the events that had been described to me that completely tore my world apart. 5 performers and 10 soldiers were killed. One of those killed was our daughter. Our love and condolences go out to the families of the 10 soldiers and the other performers. It was all Mother and I could do to get through the day. We had a memorial service for her, but I was in a daze all through it, in denial, asking myself, why did this have to happen? Then we all kind of stepped back and let our lives just fall apart. All reason to live without her was gone. Now our son must grow up alone. We didn't think that we deserved his love, but then after all this time we thought that we had grieved enough and that she would want us to be happy. So we thought, what better way to show our love for her than to celebrate her favorite time of year, Christmas. So I stopped downtown, brought some lights for the house and some fruit and ribbons. I wanted to make this a happy time, and maybe there's a reason to. Then I remembered that I hadn't gotten a tree yet, and I asked the young lady to help me pick one out. She was happy like a little child and said, yes, yes, I will help. When they pulled up the sterling trees, they found that there wasn't many left. It had been a long time since I had been there, but there in a corner was the prettiest one I'd ever seen. She said, this one is perfect, and reached down to pet a beautiful cat that had laid down by her feet. She said, I love white cats. I think I'll call it Puff. I thought, how strange. My daughter loved white cats too, but how did you know its name, I asked. She replied with a small grin, oh, it just looked like a pup. I shrugged that off and put the tree in the trunk and headed toward home, wondering how she knew. Oh, just a coincidence, I told myself. I had dropped off some presents for relatives and was heading back for home. When I arrived back home, my loving wife and son was waiting at the door. I whispered to my wife that I brought a guest home to spend Christmas with us. She smiled and said that guest was welcome and went into the kitchen to bring out the food. My wife said, "This is like having our daughter back home again. Seems like we've met before." And I felt that too, but we thought, oh, just because it had been such a long time and that we needed some happiness, and making someone else happy would make us happy too. Then it was time to bring the tree in. I placed it where I used to be, but my daughter said the angels could see it shining there. Then all four of us started placing ornaments on it, and as she reached down to pick up an ornament, she found one she liked really well, a small Santa Claus holding a bell. The ornament had been personalized with a name, but over the years the name had worn off. Then they placed the angel on the tree, and as all of us were tired, we decided to go to bed. We told her that she could sleep in our daughter's room. We each gave her a hug and said good night as we walked her up to the bedroom. She thanked us again and said good night as she closed the bedroom door. Earlier she'd picked up a crystal ball with a snow scene. We told her that it was a present from our daughter, and she always believed that if you shook it, it would actually snow. Then she fell asleep with the crystal ball by her side. She was later awakened by the sound of something soft touching her window, and lo and behold, it was snowing. She got up and ran downstairs to tell everybody, but when she got there, she saw that everybody was already out on the porch. Someone said, "We think you did this." She smiled and said, "Maybe someday we'll know." We were all getting used to her being there, but knew she would soon have to leave. But we thought that it wouldn't hurt to ask her to stay a little longer. But she said as much as I wanted to, she couldn't because someone was waiting for her elsewhere, but she promised we would all see her again. So we all hugged and said goodbye, and she told us that she would be proud to have us as parents as tears fell down her face. She walked back into the house, and as it was getting late, we knew we had to go. We'd already let her know that her car was done, and it was back where she left it. I offered her some money to help pay for the repairs, but she said thank you, but it's already been taken care of. She told me that this was the best time she'd ever had, and she would miss all of us. As she got out of the car, I saw a flash of light, just like the one that brought her to me. As she walked away, the light got brighter, and I walked toward it, and as I did, a beautiful angel in white stood there smiling at me. I thought I was dreaming, or maybe just because I was so tired. Or could it be that this was really happening? As I started back toward my car, I looked back again, and she was still standing there. Then she started walking toward me, and I felt a peaceful feeling that I'd never felt before. I knew then that it wasn't a dream, and that this lady that I had rescued had put something special back in my life. Then she reached over and touched my hand, opened it, and placed a small shiny object in it. It was a Santa Claus ornament, with the name of his daughter still engraved on it. She whispered, "I love you, Dad, and I'll see you real soon." Then she ascended into the clouds. Hope you like it. The end.